Okay, so status. I didn't quite realize, but I needed to do the whole isolated execution piece on the server side, which I got going in some form.
Hmm.
So now it does actually execute the server side modules. So I've made a nap called the chat snap, and that is what is in charge of managing um, the folder structure and the data that gets stored within it for the chats.
Hmm.
And currently, I am debugging that. I had really hoped to have that up and ready to show you. I appreciate our calls because it causes me to rush to get something to work. Alas, I came a cropper at the last minute. Um,
I suppose.
I know, but it's frustratingly close. So I don't know if this test will pass, but if it does pass, then it's sort of the thing I was trying to work on was is fixed.
Mhm.
And no, it doesn't. Anyway, I'll just keep on at that. Um, Trade offs. I'm not. We don't currently have any isolation that is any kind of a security league to stand on. So, as it
Mm.
stands, you could execute arbitrary code on our server, which is generally considered a bad thing. But given that
I believe it's frowned upon. Yeah.
it is, yeah. So, what I was going to do is move to running web workers so that each untrusted piece of code that runs gets its own dedicated web worker.
Mm.
It's given no permissions. It can't do anything outside of its little box, and then that's what runs the code. And then that will give us enough safety to sort of be like, well, at worst, you could saturate the CPU and take up all the RAM, but that's it.
Yeah, yeah, and we're kind of flopping to the web workers security, um, which is fair enough because that's probably
It's
good
fairly
enough.
standard, I think. And we're relying on frames, which is the same V8
Same thing, right?
isolation in the browser, so it amounts to about the same. I
Yeah.
think the performance hit is, it's about 30 milliseconds, but I reckon for what we're trying to do, that's perfectly fine.
Mhm.
So that's sort of where I got up to. That is more work than I wanted to do, but I was like, I can't really just put a server public and then not have some kind of containment around it.
Yeah.
For I did put in a whitelist, so at the moment, even though it could execute anything on the internet. The whitelist is like it only allows you to execute things that I described when I set up the server, when I provision the server. So that's
All right. That's not sustainable, but it's pretty good.
yeah. It's not the
Yeah.
come one come all run anything you like, but it is it's basically please don't pwn me. Um, so it yeah stands up
Yeah. Yeah.
there. And that's all I'm doing. It's so frustrating. It's like the little final freaking details to just make the. I didn't realize it was so much that was missing to run arbitrary external code, but I guess that's the server side counterpart of the frames being able to run arbitrary external code in the browser.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I am able to make use of the messaging protocol I made to go between the frames and the parent web page is the exact same thing that I'll use in the web worker isolation model
Hmm.
because it's Frames and web workers share a lot of the messaging interface anyway, so that works good for us. But I didn't realize that I was actually missing quite a bit from the how to execute remote code or arbitrary code. But given the amount of rigmarole that went around that issue, like that's an easily a 7-year-old issue that we'd kind of avoided and ducked and dodged, right from the Interbit days till now. We'd always sort of deferred that one because it's a real nasty one. But today's the day where it kind of looks like it largely just works, thanks to changes in the ecosystem, thanks to Deno, basically, allowing that thing to be so trivial. Like, that would typically not be a trivial thing to do before Deno, but that's why I'd switched us over to using Deno, is because it came with that sort of security guarantee built in, and now we're able to finally use it and dynamically load an external module, so that part works. And then off you go, really. It's sort of not, I can't think of much more that you need. Like, it's like what it like runs arbitrary code in the browser, it runs arbitrary code on the server. Billing is probably the next thing, so that you can't just run arbitrary code to your heart's content. Some scaling, but scaling can come after billing, because billing stops you just doing ridiculous things.
Oh yeah, and
Because-
also early days. Scaling's not going to be a major issue.
Nah, scaling's
We've got like maybe half a dozen that we can put straight on the platform.
yeah. And then I think we're there. Have I missed something? Like, because it's like you have chats
You have chats
and you
with
have chance
transcludes,
and then social connection,
and then you got naps.
and then naps, which is like, sure,
you
we
got-
got to make them by hand for now, but
Yeah.
it doesn't seem too hard. I mean, it doesn't seem too hard to make a nap-making nap, and then it's like, this is the nap that makes the naps, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, a tester for naps.
Yeah.
And that's a really good question. Have we missed anything? So, threads as transcludes.
Everything
refer-
everything is a transclude.
Yep. So we're storing threads. You can refer back to a previous conversation and bring in another conversation, and then talk to both.
Yep. You can have a chat
Um,
about a chat.
Yeah.
You can keep going with the existing chat and then chat about the new stuff in that chat.
Indexing. If you get a large number of chats,
Indexing, like you mean keyword search?
or finding is like, oh, I think I talked about Lamrog and Josh.
That
about
that
such and so.
that feels like it's agent realm or nap realm. So
It
that
does, doesn't it?
is not required to be a primitive. That would just simply be a nap that had access to the chats and was just told to,
You're
here's a
right.
search string, and then it
It's-
just
yeah. All you do is remind me of what I did, 7 months ago with Lamrog and Josh.
mm,
Here's all my chats, and
Yeah.
return a chat, and then you're in the realm of transcludes again, because it's like, oh, I found a chat, or you mentioned Lamrog and Josh 4 times. Okay, bring all those 4 in.
Yep.
And now I'm going to talk to them all. Yeah, so that's covered.
So that's just at the point where it becomes naps all the way down from there on in.
Yeah. This is quite an important point, so let me think. If we missed anything.
There's currently no direct way to interact with the hosting environment, so I would imagine I'd add an extra panel into the into the account panel here,
You
and
want to obfuscate that and just make the top level panel the substrate that you're dealing with, as
sorry,
opposed to
I
the
don't understand.
hosting
Sorry.
environment. Um, well, it's
Well,
like asking your light bulb where you get your electricity from.
yeah, but that's pretty key to data sovereignty. You're like, I want to change electricity provider.
Fair point. Yeah. Fair point. Yeah.
So it's all I was gonna do was add an extra section into the account here that just gave you visibility into who your hoster is and some options to switch. So you're like, I want to search for other providers, and then you can pick one and go and do the migration process.
Well, even a way to interrogate where's my data.
That is an app for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That is a app that is able to query some of the exposed repos that the hoster gives. So the hoster would sort of expose management repos and other data. Pretty much the hoster should be able to operate completely transparently except for encryption keys.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from those secrets, you should be able to see inside the hoster completely. That's kind of something that I believe is worth the effort up front, because if you don't do it, you end up piling on stuff that makes that harder and harder and harder. But once you have done it, it's easy to stay done. Like if you set it transparent, and you're like, there you go, open. It's easy to stay in that state because all the changes you make in the future take that into account. Whereas the other way is a bit of a tombstone, like you're headed towards the grave because you're like, oh, we can't share that because that's private. And you're like, okay. And then next minute you got 10 things that need to be private and each one needs a different solution and you're fucked. So being a transparent host straight off the bat, I think is important. And giving people, like, the key demo I would love to do is the migration between hosting providers. So you're like, one way to look at that is to say that this page, you could consider it as that's vended by a particular entity, and then the hosting is vended by other independent entities. And so the front page or the static page that loads this content is technically independent from the identity provider and the hosting provider. And if you can demonstrate that and show how you can actually migrate all your data, first of all, you can take an exact replica of your data into GitHub. You can take your exact replica of your data and run it on your own computer, but you can also migrate to another hosting provider. That would be an epic demo to be like, that's data sovereignty.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can also remove your data from hosting provider
all hosters,
for whatever reason.
Yeah. And then the final sort of cherry on the top will be, I want to run it on these hosting providers concurrently. So like my house, this other one, and this other one, and I want to run them in consensus. Like that's finished.
Yeah. That is quite cherry. That's never going to disappear. How about hierarchy of users based on what they're doing? So say if you're in a company and the guy at the top of the hierarchy has 6 people inside the system. Those 6 people, some of their work is for the company, some of it is irrelevant.
I'm not seeing a question.
The question is that kind of sub-admin or the admin should have access to the 6 people that are doing work for that organization, but not access to...
What does access to the people mean?
Being able to move their data.
Oh, like they control their identity, their accounts.
Or a slice of their accounts, because they might be doing other things as well.
Isn't that controlling the repos that they work on?
Um, yes, I guess it is.
That's kind of the model I'd prefer, because it's like you as a user, you come and you sign in and you manage your own identity, and then you gain access to this repo, as opposed to this person being owned by this company. Our data model doesn't fit that well because we
Yeah, but
give all the power to the individual.
you're right. If it's all repo based, it's just who owns the repo and who has
Yeah,
permissions for the
yeah.
repo.
Who's got permissions and to what parts, and who can you get cut off at any
Yeah,
point?
so if
Yeah,
someone gets fired, they just get chucked off
yeah.
permissions for that
Instant,
repo.
instant
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Okay. I'm really fishing around for things that
Yeah,
we've
good.
forgotten.
No, it's good. It's good.
Um,
It's good.
so if someone to get fired, but that would be permissions on copying repos.
If you've ever had permission to access the repo, then you may have taken a copy. We don't restrict that at the moment. GitHub doesn't restrict that. We can look at doing something about that later, but that's certainly not a round one type of thing, because
No,
read permissions is a bit of a it's false. Like it's people think it's safety, but it's actually just a hindrance, and you probably can't stop it. Like a better
so
way um, is to modify your repo structure so that the data you really don't want read is in a separate repo. That's a better way to do it.
yeah, and there is literally no way to stop anyone dumping something down onto a USB stick.
Yeah, I mean, you can get into all that if you want to control the browser, but it's like what for all the use cases we see, that type of behavior is not really part of the goals that we have.
No, I agree.
Um,
I'm fishing around for things, but
yeah, that's
when
cool.
you get to that stage, you're really flopping into legal contracts to restrict that kind of behavior.
Yeah, there are other tools at your disposal, and you're probably not working in a dreamcatcher way, and so you're less of a concern to us. Actually, like, we're unlikely to try and make features to help you there, because our
Yeah,
belief is that that way of working is not as profitable.
and even the NSA didn't manage to, stop copying of files.
That's very funny. If they can't do it, what hope does anyone have?
Yeah,
Definitely controlling write permissions, like that's absolutely doable, but read is
yeah, yeah. Okay, so we can put read to one side. What else? Siloing of usage for
sorry.
the account, as in the model in my head at the moment is someone's working inside of a company
Yeah.
on company work and also working outside on a side hustle,
Oh yeah.
filling in usage.
Yeah. So I would imagine that they would be working in, like, what we could do is make a persona that's
Mm-hmm.
like it's not a full blown user. It looks like a user, and it's controlled by the worker, the company pays the bills for it. It has some extra restrictions, like it can only be used on this thing, but the real person, their real account, their actor account, has access to that persona, and they can drive it. Maybe.
Oh, that'd be a good way of doing it. So a company could issue you with permission to burn tokens on their behalf by issuing
Mm,
you a persona. You could
yeah,
have another persona that
yeah,
has nothing to them and they don't care.
yeah. Another way to tackle that problem is to have you perform the chats inside one of the company repos. so that all the chats are seen within that particular repo within the company. The repo is given access to the company credit card, and so when you're doing stuff, it's all recorded and owned by that repo and paid for by that repo. And then when you want to go and work on something else, you switch repos. That's another way.
Oh, that's I think that's a better way.
Yeah,
If
because that answers the question of where do the chats go in a project when there's like,
yeah, if
yeah,
you're working on a repo, all the chats about that repo and the transcodes that depend on that repo
yeah,
are being charged to a place.
yeah.
So then that reverts back to the permissions thing. If your permissions are removed for that repo, then you can't run up someone's bill by asking, ludicrous stuff.
Yeah.
It could well be the way. All these are niggly little bits, though.
They feel like they're not they're solvable within naps mostly, and they also don't seem like they're not authoritatively solvable without having a couple of without seeing it and just having to play with it. Like I don't feel
Right,
confident I can
because
pick the right answer there.
I think you're right that they're naps because I may want to have some kind of crowdsourcing thing where I've got 100 credit cards all contributing to an effort instead of one.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I would expect that that's solvable with a nap.
Yeah, the point being is, I think it lives inside of an app. You install a payment NAP. You link that NAP to certain repos. If you're working in this, then it's the NAP's job to decide who gets charged for what or how. It's not our business. The simple case is it's one credit card. It might also be the link that you want the NAP if someone's working inside of a set of repos, that information goes through the NAP to attribution equally.
True. That's a good point.
So that's a NAP.
We don't have any easy place to see services or platform services. So, for example, the computing marketplace. I'm not sure where that goes here.
I'm not sure how important that is because to start with, people just expect it to be obfuscated somewhere.
It runs on a hoster right now, yeah. But as it comes online, I guess that would just become part of under the account section. It's just part of where you switch your hosting to, and you could pick like a decentralized option, and you're like, I'm part of this decentralized computing marketplace, and that's where my stuff runs. That's one option.
Right. Yeah, and for on-prem, that would live in the same place.
Yeah, same. Same
your
config.
own hoster.
Yeah, you're your own hoster. Yeah. Because what we really want is we want you to be able to run on-prem, but then sell off your excess on-prem capacity to one of our marketplaces so that you can have full privacy and everything runs with the net cut off and whatever, all the good stuff that on-prem gives you. But the costs can be offset by once everyone's gone home for the day, it's still earning money and probably getting cheap power as well.
That sounds like an app as well. Because in that case, you are offering up hosting services, which, if you install the NAP, would be available inside your account to select and use. And the NAP would be responsible for figuring out who owes what.
Right, yep.
And would connect to the kind of primary layer, which is the account layer in this case. It's like you owe this guy this. If you wanted to run it in 3 places at once, or you wanted to run it all on prem, if you wanted to offer up cycles from your on-prem when nobody else is using it, there's no way to tell, what time zone they're in. Even, it's like when everyone goes home is different in Indonesia than it
Yep.
is in California. So that needs to be NAP. So that is not primary either.
Yeah, it's there are some substrate based things there, like how to switch and pick and all those types of things, but they're definitely not like they can become stucks and we can solve them using the platform, I think is the
I think so, and we're getting into the real weeds, but I envision something like it's almost like a Zapier, or if this then that kind of nap to nap. It's like, okay, so I am offering up my CPU cycles, and I need to I offer up effectively an endpoint to someone else. If they've
yep.
installed my NAP and they've got a NAP in order to consume that, then that's not substrate. That's just, nap to nap.
Yep.
Okay. I'm really struggling to think of anything new here.
I think this is might be enough because so long as we can get stucks going and we can start building agents that can help us solve stucks and keep them solved and to keep asking repetitive questions like every time there's a change you're like, is it minimal, is it coherent, is it correct, getting it to read the latest web articles and being like, does anything relate to what we're talking about? Can you solve any of our outstanding problems? Can you improve the solutions we already have using this new information? Those kinds of grinding, just sheer grinding through intelligent information, that once we have that, we'll be powerful. We'll be very powerful. Because you might be able to get bits and pieces of that type of feature set out there right now, but it doesn't look, none of the ones I've seen, and admittedly I haven't done a very hard look, but they don't seem like they do that kind of, it doesn't give us a citadel. It doesn't give us an eagle's nest where we can sit there and just have this like intelligent information coming into us, advising us how to do the next thing, being able to take a conversation like what we just had about a range of features that we just danced across, and then being able to ingest that and push the stucks
probably
forward.
Came up with 3 or 4 stucks right there, right?
Yeah, right. And then little solutions and all that, and that it should be enough for it to work on, or at least move something forwards, help us schedule and arrange and organize, and then collaborate with other people.
The bit that I'm really excited about, given the acceleration of AI, is when there's a change, having a background agent that creates stucks. It's like, hey, you could do this better, Here's a better way of doing it. Here's a better not.
Here's a better way. Yeah, that's the key thing, right?
And it might be even a straight slotting. It's like, do you want to use this better way? I've already solved it.
Yeah, here's me trying to use this new thing and it worked out great.
Yeah.
Here's me trying to solve this request you made for an agent, and over the past 3 nights, it's gotten 5% better each time. I think it's ready for you to use now. Would you like to have a poke? Like
right.
all those kinds of things, right?
And then it's a single click, install.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a better way.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
And then it just gets better.
I know. So I don't see those unified platforms. I definitely don't see a stuck platform. I don't see social AI really.
No, I've been scanning for that. There's not even anyone talking about it.
Yeah.
It seems odd, but it might be odd because we talk about it all the time. But it seems
odd. So I mean, look, we got enough of a platform in hand that we know how to make it be useful to us, and that's a pretty big user group right there. Like if it's good for us, it's going to be good for a lot of other people as well.
we're kind of close enough to deliver it before anything major pops up on the scene. Like uh, we're close enough now that I don't think we're gonna ever feel like, oh, someone else already solved this. We should have just been using their platform. Like I don't
Yeah.
think that's a
Yeah,
a
I agree.
concern.
I agree.
And so we can actually get launched once I get this chats thing up, and then you've got arbitrary naps, you've got chats, you've got AI that can talk about stuff. You can pull in repos, you can run agents against repos, and you can create stacks and share them.
And naps are the infinite, bottomless well. It's like,
Yeah, the bottomless, the thing that just keeps on going, because that's what it all reduces down to.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I don't know what to say other than go for it, bro.
oh, I can't wait to not be doing this, to be honest. Like,
This is looking really sweet. I could use this, filling in the blanks and notwithstanding those, I could use this today to great effect.
yeah, well, all I got to do is hook up that the chat management thing, and then you should be able to come on and use it. And then I'll do something crude for billing. Um,
Yeah, well, it'll be friends and family to start with. And we can even deal with, if there's a commercial contract, we can deal with billing as a separate
yeah,
off
yeah,
platform thing for now.
we'll figure all that out.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I've delivered you something useful, I need to finish the nap for the trucking guys because they're still waiting, and I feel awful about that. But I was like, if we don't get this thing, if we don't get this thing up and running, I feel like we're dead in the water, and you're stalled effectively waiting for this. So that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, well, I'm off using other tools. There's two ones that I'm working on at the moment. One is I'll obfuscate, but I can tell you what the gist is. There is one group of shops that have got their accounts in a bad place. They've got a number of outlets, and they don't know. They're not making the profit that should be expected. So there is a deep suspicion that there's something weird going on somewhere. They're also getting hit by the taxman. And so what they want to do is to retrospectively go through the information that they've got, get that into good formats, get that inside of an AI, and then ask the AI what the hell is going on here, essentially. So that's the first one. The second one is a translation service that is looking at improving the single shot translations by building up a store of idioms that don't sound
Right.
awful.
Yeah, right.
And then there's the bank just sitting there. We've got another call with the bank that looks like it's ready to go as soon as we're ready. We've got the drone guys. There's plenty to go on here. In fact, we'll probably need to find people who can use this tool once we've got it in order to meet all that demand.
Yeah, right. Like put up some deals, and then
Yeah.
manage some. If we can manage labor through the platform, if we can manage labor through the platform where the labor gets done on the platform, so it's like, hey, use these tools to solve this problem, and you'll get paid through the platform as well, and then the purchaser gets this.
That's the Stux tab, isn't it? It's like, here are all the Stux.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we can hand crank it by reaching out, finding people, going, go here. Here's the Stuck that
Yeah. Like we'll just use the old school way to pull people in.
Yeah.
and then the purchaser gets because the solution was arrived at on our platform. They can see how it happened, and then
Yeah.
they also get a nap at the end, so they've got a long living thing that they, they
Well,
don't have.
that's the cool thing about the stocks, isn't it? We're kind of combining a marketplace for work with a platform to run.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like the platform comes with a labor marketplace.
Yeah.
That's kind of different. That's what I like about it. And then it's also how to improve bits of it as well. So you can just fire out like,
Right.
50 stocks, and then you're
Right.
like, I'll put $20 on each one.
Well, there's I don't know, in the hopper there's maybe like 100, 200 GBP sitting there of people who want stuff to happen.
200 pounds.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Just off the bat. And
200
not all
pounds
of those might
isn't a
flop.
lot of money. Did I understand it right?
Yeah,
200 pounds.
Yeah, about 200,000. Yeah.
Oh, 200,000 pounds. That's you missed the 1,000. That's an important part to add. I was
Sorry.
like,
got
200 pounds. That's not gonna. I mean, that'd fucking pay the
importance
AI
of
bill
orders of
for
magnitude.
half a day.
Yeah. There's probably about 200,000 pounds of business sitting waiting for this. There's stuff being added, and of course some of these decay.
Yeah. But then new ones come up. Like as
that's
soon as
it.
we can demonstrate actual utility, then it's like, yeah, we can do more.
Right.
And I think that, I mean, that concept of your solution is made up of these independent components that can each be improved and modified on their own. Like, that's kind of different, because that's better than like, here's this one unified glorious piece of SaaS, or
And reuse as well, I think is going to be a huge one.
reuse, right? Like usable somewhere else too. Yeah.
In effect, you're doing reuse. You're using Deno. You're using a number of tools in the background here to do something that if you were to build from scratch,
That's
would be
technology.
horrible.
That's absolutely technology. Yeah.
And Naps is just tier 2 eating tier 3.
Yeah, it's almost like reusable web page components.
Yeah. And as soon as we get that, then we got a platform.
Yeah,
And
we do.
Nobody's really satisfied with tier 1. There's every time I'm talking to these guys, and we're probably talking about, must be into about 20 different companies, maybe even more, but every one of them have tried to do it, on tier 1 and have failed, and are just saying,
Right.
shit.
Right. There's a huge army of those people. They're like, we can see the spark, we can see the brilliance, but man, it just ends up sucking. And then it's like, you just need a little bit of packaging to solve it. And also, like, if you've spent 20 grand on a dev team that couldn't do it, why don't you just put $1,000 up and be like, solve this problem? You'd be surprised how simple the solution can be.
Exactly. And because it's escrow, if it doesn't get solved, depending on your patience, your time limit, then you get £1,000 back.
You take it back anytime you want. I mean, shit.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think that's a really powerful sell.
Yeah.
Because all they're doing is, taking a bit of their budget and saying, right, here's a reward. It's like micro and Saudi X prizes.
Right. The whole concept, it's like, the micro X prize, but furthermore, if it gets reused, you can make money back beyond the utility that it brings to you alone. You can also earn from it.
Yeah, which I had a conversation the other day where I was explaining this, and they were reticent about giving their entire platform away. But I was describing it, saying you're not giving your entire platform away. You're giving chunks of things that you've solved, that you've paid for.
Right.
Lego bricks was the
Right.
way I was
Right.
saying it. Saying you can use
Yeah.
this Lego brick. It's not the whole platform you're giving away, and so
Right. So you could, I don't know how soon we'll need to do it, but we could make it so you can do private stux or restricted access stux, and then naps that can be sort of private or restricted access. I don't know if that's worth it to
no,
do,
not right now.
but
Not right now. There might be someone who really wants that.
the
But
key should really
because-
be your private data. Like your data's
Well-
private, but
well,
the
they,
software to use it shouldn't really be.
Yeah, but the yes, data sovereignty absolutely. But in terms of data processing, fractioning your process into Lego bricks individually, which can be reused,
Right.
I think is key. So someone creates a map.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's a change in. It's a change in how workflows occur, because at the moment most people's company workflows are made up of a range of different tools that the humans stitch together to form a process
Yeah.
of, but we're saying that you should just leave it as components. You don't need to keep trying to bundle things
Yeah.
up to be a
they're-
unified whole. It's like
Exactly.
the AI will do that for you. It will pull them together as needed. Don't
Yeah,
make
precisely.
the bundle, leave the bundle fluid, assemble
The-
it at the last minute just in time.
And it's almost like the bundle is the proprietary piece, how you use all these Lego pieces.
Right, yeah, right. You can have a pile of Lego and you can still make some pretty cool proprietary stuff
Yeah.
out of the Lego thing. And you're like, how did you do that? And you're like, not telling. Fine, whatever.
Yeah. So they're cool with, so our trade secrets, all the stuff people want to keep secret. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
yours.
It's unlikely that it's trade secrets all the way down. It's probably standard
Well, it's-
components that everyone else can.
Right now it's not trade secrets all the way down.
I know, yeah. I mean, everyone's got Microsoft Excel.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everyone's got ChatGPT. So what are you, what's left? What do you got? What do you got?
Yeah. Yeah. So the naps, I think, are a really important component in terms
Right.
of selling this, even to the most secretive or acquisitive type.
Right.
So
Right. And the naps even help you if you're secretive too, because you're like, look at all these Lego bricks you can pull in and custom fit to your private little special thing. Whereas otherwise, because you're trying to be private, the big off the shelf bits, they probably won't fit well for you.
Yeah. And the real proprietary stuff is your data and your process.
That's right. What you did with it, how you use the Lego, as opposed to proprietary Lego.
Nobody cares about who made their AMD chip, even though it might be, fundamental to their business.
Yeah, that's right. And same way you don't really care about where your power came from. You just care that it's there and it's affordable.
Yep. And
Okay.
that's what you ask.
That's sounding like money right there.
It does, doesn't it?
Sounding like a lot of money. Like useful money.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, it sounds like we're nearly there. Please let this be the last time.
I really think we're at that 21-mile stage on a marathon.
What? This
Where people
like
start
not even
cheering you.
halfway.
21 miles on a marathon. No, that's almost at the end.
I thought a marathon was 40-something.
Oh, you in kilometers? No, it's 23 miles and 425 feet or something like that.
26 miles. Okay, so what? So we're at mile 21. So you reckon
Oh, okay,
we're
I might revise that to say mile 24. It's
still
interesting.
though,
You know why
like-
it's 0.2188? It's quite interesting.
Well, yeah, because it was
So-
the distance from marathon to I think it was The Acropolis or
No, no,
something?
it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was the Battle of Marathon, in the Persian Wars. But the fraction there came early 20th century, where now I don't know the dates, but they had the standard marathon distance, but they'd built a stadium, and they had the royal box, and the Queen was sitting there, and so they had to add in the loop around so that the finish line was in front of the royal box.
Oh,
So that's why it seems absurdly exact, right?
right.
But it was 26 miles, and then they had to add a bit
Right. Okay.
in order to get in front of the royal box.
Everywhere you go, there are patches.
Yeah, it is a patch. It's a bodge.
Patch. It's just that's the whole world. Like the biggest, most sort of like struck me in the face with awe kind of patch was the line at Greenwich being wrong. Like
It what? Sorry, being wrong.
the zero line at Greenwich being in the wrong
yeah,
place.
yeah.
I was like, dude, like you you literally chose that one. You defined it by choosing it, and it turned out it was still wrong.
The thing that makes me smile is UTC
Yeah.
is built on cesium atomic clocks, which are distributed around the world, and then everyone agrees and so on
Yeah.
about what UTC is.
Yeah.
But there's one country which never signed up to it, which is Denmark. So Denmark is about a quarter second out. So if you if you ever phone someone in Denmark
To
if they're a
celebrate the
quarter
new
second
year.
out, then they're still on time.
Right.
They never signed up to the atomic clock thing. I've no idea why. Probably never got round to it.
Could have just been difficult.
I think it was probably because they were occupied by the Nazis at the time or something like that.
That's a good reason to not sign documents.
Yeah,
I mean,
but nobody's ever gone and cleaned it up. So I can't think of anything more to poke holes in this. I honestly can't, and
okay.
I will continue to try.
All right. Well, it sounds like things are imminent to having a usable thing. There may be a slight delay on a couple of services, like putting up DNS, internal DNS, and putting up things like how do I find my friends as an internal service. So it's really just a case of like,
Sure, but all these things can be hand cranked for now.
sure,
You just
yeah, sure,
send
and you can
over
like,
your key,
you know,
or
yeah, like,
send over your ID. and they'll
yeah,
find
yeah,
you.
you can do all that, and you're like,
Yeah.
yep, that's annoying, but let's fix that. Okay, well, that's sounding pretty good, man.
The last social network around innovation.
Well, just in general, I mean, once you're there with AI,
Yeah.
what else you need, really?
All right. Well, basically, cool.
Is that it? Yeah, I guess that is it. Then I can get rid of this. Inventor's Notebook and start patching straight into the Matrix, so to speak.
Well, there's this is a complete aside and nothing to do with what we're doing, but I think it's quite amusing or interesting. I don't know if you've been following. I spent a lot of time on YouTube, but the number of AI generated videos on YouTube, I think, might actually kill YouTube. I say this is a completely different topic. But I was watching a report on one of them in March, a new channel was set up, and what they seem to have done is create a process which includes script writing, image generation, narration onto YouTube. And between March and now, they've gone from 0 subscribers to 30 million
Whoa.
subscribers. And it's just like a shorts thing. They're just doing wee shorts, but they're kind of cool and, trendy. But that amounts. I was working out or estimating it based. Well, I asked GTP anywhere between $100,000 and $400,000 a month. They are now generating, having created something in March.
Wow.
This dead internet theory.
No.
Where eventually the internet is going to become so polluted by AI content that it stops to have meaning.
Okay. I'd sort of given up on the internet already, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's been around for a while, but I think we're now starting to see it because
Right.
Maybe 2 out of 3 vids that I click on now, you can tell it's AI because mostly because of the narration.
Right.
But they're getting better and better. So there's a lot of dudes out there building stuff.
Yeah.
There's
I had an interesting call come in from someone out of the blue who was trying to set up a remittance business around the Pacific Islands like Vanuatu and Fiji and Tonga and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of struck me that there's a lot of these sort of niche opportunities going around where if you had like a swarm of agents that could figure out who to contact in an org, how to like lay out that spider web of human influence, like who's bribing who and who reports to who, and why would this group not want a new payment rail to enter the country?
Sounds a lot like what the bank is asking us to do once we get up and running. East African bank.
Right, yeah, like... but I'm talking about using that for just a person, like anyone with a powerful idea and enough willpower to stick at it. Like these things should be able to map out how to guide you through the quagmire of human relationships effectively so that you can like end up with a one-person remittance business, for example. Idea. Because like obviously there's a way to be more efficient doing remittance, but everyone thinks you need at least X number of people, and then no one really takes you seriously until you've got a number of people, and so you're like, well, how does anyone new come into play because they need a bunch of money first, right? But then the other thing that's pushing on stuff is I just don't believe that incumbent businesses can become one-man AI-powered businesses because they will just never, ever be able to. They believe that they need at least some people. They'll never be able to transform back into one person. So it's going
to be startups. Yeah,
it's better to be started, right? That's the thing. Yeah. Like if it starts as one, then it's AI from the get-go without any admin going in over the top.
Right.
And so there's probably
Sorry, no, I was going to say, I've been thinking about this because there is a pushback from there's a friction from established companies.
It's big
because there's emotional things you don't want to fire.
They just can't see it as well. But they don't. Yeah, they need it to be working fully right now, and so they're not working on how do we solve this unique problem for us so that we can get rid of all the people. Whereas if you're coming at it from the bottom up, you're coming at it a different way. You're like, I have to solve this problem.
Exactly. And I think those guys have got an inherent disadvantage on a startup. I think the ideal number, and maybe this is selection bias, but it's 2 people.
It's 2. It's absolutely 2. I think if you were kind of insane, you could do it as 1, but it's a pair. You got to have a pair, I think, because a pair is more than 2 times better than just a 1.
Yeah.
But then 3 is where it starts to get a bit burdensome. 4's
Yeah.
no go. 5 is like, oh, you just
And you
like,
don't even think about a dozen. Yeah.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
then you get all the infighting and all, the normal old world friction.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to get at is that it feels like there's a way to find, if we can set up agents to do enough sort of background grinding to make it clear that there is an opportunity in a particular place. It might be in online insurance, or it might be remittance in a weird place, or it might, who knows, right? But there's a lot of these niche things around, and then we try find an individual that's got enough willpower and up with the tools to push it forwards, and then we're able to sort of help them with tooling and intelligence, and they go and make these like one person businesses. I think it's a myth to think that it's going to be one person unicorns. Sure, there will be those, but there'll also be thousands of these like little businesses that turn over a couple of million a year, that are just one person who managed to get in with the right tools early enough, and you get like a one person remittance business that's never going to be outcompeted because the overhead's absolutely nothing, and then it's like it's there and it's stable.
Give me a second. There's something. A question. We're talking about a social network of innovation. What counts as the an influencer in that? Where are the superstars?
Hmm. I think there would be different classes of superstar. Some would have a very high idea rate, or a very high idea yield rate, like their generated value from ideas would be high, and so people would be like, oh, listen to that person because they have these ideas. Another would be deal making, or connections. So like someone might be a superstar because they know a lot of people and they can make something happen just by introduction. That's all I got, man. I don't really know, to be honest.
Well, there's an app there which we're talking about hand cranking, finding people, pointing at the platform to solve stucks.
Yeah.
But the platform itself should have an app that does that.
Mm.
So you search on the platform and see someone who could solve this in their sleep versus someone who's never done it before.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder how that works. I'll give that some thought.
Yep.
But the idea of an innovation influencer superstar.
Right. That's an interesting one. Yeah, it should be a thing. Or like an AI whisperer, someone who is very skilled in the art.
Because, sure, they might, look for a great deal of personal cash from solving it, but if they can solve it in 5 minutes because they've already solved it or something similar, and they go, oh yeah,
or there'd be I guess there'd be a whole colorful range. Like there'd be people who start digging in the ground and everyone thinks there's nothing there, and then a year goes by and it turns out they were like, ahead of the gold rush, and everyone's like, oh wow.
Yeah, like the inventor would be one possible one. Your ideas thing that you said a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
So an inventor might be a huge, generation of new stocks, and then you'd have the doers. It's like, yeah, no, I can solve that bit. And maybe you've got hyper niche people who can solve, a particular problem really quickly because they've done it a lot and they know it inside out.
Yeah. No, there's a whole range of interesting things to pop out.
Yeah, that's interesting. maybe it will just flop out of the system. Once people start using it, we can see what the connections are.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I guess it seems like what we really need is to be able to get a pile of cash together so that we can actually respond to like classes of stocks that seem good, like setting up a remittance business. We're like, okay, well, we can see that to set up a general remittance business anywhere in the world, we need all these stocks. That'll get you 95% of the way to doing it in Vanuatu. The rest is going to be legwork, charm, connections, all that.
Right.
you know,
I suspect that there's quite a lot of overlap between remittance and reputation management, for example.
Probably. In fact, if we learn anything, there's a lot of overlap between everything in the tech space. So it's kind of like, okay, sure, first step, baby steps, revenue, users, the basic stuff. But
we need to stoke it.
Yeah,
first.
but very quickly we need to figure out how to get like the ability to raise a lot of capital to put into stocks quickly, like preferably in a public company type of way.
Yeah. This feels very listable.
Yeah, but you want to list as a worker, list as a solution factory, a solver.
Yeah, and you also want to show demonstrable growth because, well, back when we had HAL, without doing anything, people just seemed to start using it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as soon as we get some kind of hockey stick, then that's the point where you get funds, and the raise is to fund stocks.
Yep.
As opposed to buy anything.
Yep. Yeah, because they'll become quite clear. I think the stocks will be like, look, we got these vetted stocks, or we're like 90-something% sure that these stocks are needed for the future, and basically we can lay out a more official program for how we're going to get to the milestones we want and understand the impact of them, and have agents that continually balance what's the most high yield, high leverage thing to do at any given moment in time, and it keeps up to date with all the latest developments. So that's sort of...
Yeah, and also, interesting enough, with traditional companies that want something done, we have a base value for those stocks. Say, bank wants reputation management, divide reputation management in order to get that done. There's maybe, I don't know, a dozen stocks. The traditional company likes contracts and then puts some cash in to get that solved, and then it's divvied up between the stocks, and then that's investment in the stocks.
Yep.
That is very low overhead and very low friction in terms of the company, because it's like, so we want this thing to happen. Here's 100 grand, divvy up 10 stocks, 10 grand each, and it's escrowed. So you wait on them getting up, and then there is a job to be done initially in pump priming it by running around and finding people, pointing them in. But then it really should start to mean that we don't need to pump prime it.
Yeah.
Once there's enough people in there, they're gonna maybe subdivide this stock even, and say, hey, dude, mate, you're good at this bit, I'm good at that bit, let's solve this stock together, we'll split the difference.
Right.
It should work. The mechanics are there.
Oh, we'll see. I think we've got enough of a system that we can definitely test all the theories. There's nothing that we're sitting there waiting for. We don't need decentralization to test a lot of the social aspects of it.
Yeah.
That'll just be a really nice booster all round. I think we're here pretty much. I'll put these finishing touches on, and then we can see how she runs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for me then.
Anything more to say about that?
All right. Okay, I'll stop the recording.